because followed the Vajrayana path, or the lightning path in this particular incarnation. And I became enlightened by a lightning strike on the etheric level, and basically it took me from what one could say the conscious awareness from my physical attributes to the conscious level of my divine self. So yes, in old school terms, you could say I became instantaneously enlightened. Now, in addition to that, of course, I have also spent thousands of years upon the path of bodhisattvahood. And basically, I'm happy to announce that I'm closing in, and I'm getting there, which is wonderful. But at the same time, there's not a lot of people that are going to understand what a bodhisattva is. But basically, what a bodhisattva is basically it's like a stage of development along the lines or equivalent to, in some ways, the Buddha himself. In other words, a bodhisattva basically has a heart of compassion and a heart of genuineness, that when they appear to others, basically speaking, they are there to give them divine inspiration or to divinely intervene if, in fact, they find themselves in an out-of-the-way place, okay? So I can relate to that. And, of course, I also am a Shaolin monk, okay? Yeah. So that approaches from that aspect. I studied the martial arts for 30 years, and I am a grandmaster of Kung Fu. I have had 12 senseis, and they have taught me 18 different styles. So,
well, I won't mess with you then.
Well, you see, again, the physicality, all right, I went into the physicality first and foremost, of course, for the bodily discipline, okay, because spirit is always in control of the body and not the other way around. As I like to say, we are spirits having a human experience and not humans attempting to find our spiritual experience. Yeah, I agree with that. So, anyways, it sounds like you're way out there in lots of different respects. As far as an audience is concerned, I mean, you obviously are reaching a great many people, and I would completely applaud and agree with you that, yes, we need to have this Federation of Planets, which the foremost brotherhood or the foremost central beings that are encouraging this, of course, is the Galactic Federation of Light. Now, cosmic scale, of course, there are always going to be those that would love to possess the Earth, just as the Anunnaki did in the far past, and the Anunnaki have been dethroned, and the Cabal, of course, has been dethroned and also being rounded up. So the New World Order is coming to a very, very short order. It's like they're driving through McDonald's and they get into line, and basically as they drive away with their food, they're suddenly inducted into a chamber of cocooning, okay, because they need to be reschooled because they've lost the identity of who they truly are and have gone over into a manifestation of their more gross or materialistic being and have lost touch with the love and the divineness within the center or core of their being. So they kind of have to be cocooned or reschooled, you could say. So it's not really that we're harming them, but at the same time, we're getting them to divorce their lesser nature, because their lesser nature has been one of controlling others and manipulating others and stepping on people to get where they desire to be, and this is just no longer going to be tolerated. It's just a frank fact. Again, this revolves around divine will, okay? So if you're saying that the creator of all is looking down on the planet Earth, into our galaxy, into our universe, and so forth, and making the divine decree saying that mankind now needs to either ascend or sit on his ass and take another ride on 3D for however long that may be, or go ahead and ascend and develop his 5D awareness, which means he goes to the core essence of his self, develops his true self, and becomes consciously aware of who all he is, or they or she is, of course, because I'm speaking of mankind in a general term. Of course, I'm not specifying any particular gender. I'm just talking to us as a race, all right? Now, our overall consciousness, of course, I would say that probably 80% is ready for the conclusion of the matrix reality, or that which is generated in 3D, okay? You also, so with an 80% majority, of course, then in turn we are going to recreate and join ourselves in a fifth-dimensional reality. And as soon as we do, all of these spaceships and so forth that are hovering around us will become we will be very aware of their existence, because we will be able to see and hear them. Okay? So all this
Yeah.
good stuff. And this is all happening at the moment. Now, of course, you see, we as human beings have this frightful habit. And I say it's a frightful one because it's done us a lot of damage in the present and the past, and especially the past. If you look at us historically, we have all demanded that there was always going to be a war, okay? Whether it be for this tradition, that race over this race, or who controlled what continent, or so on and so on and so forth. And it's all been ridiculous because it was a lot of loss for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Simply because people became outward involved instead of turning inward. And I'm sure you can relate to that as a Buddhist. Because
I
the Buddha
agree. Yeah,
teaches
people
that,
have to have more of a spiritual life.
All answers are found within the inward self, whereas the outward self is only a reflection of your thought.
Yes.
Let me flip this around. I've invited Brian on here the last hour, but we're a little late. But as the host tonight, Richard, I'd like you to learn what he's been doing that I don't know about.
Sure. Well, I keep absolutely no track and no concept of time, except when it's a variable as to whether or not I need to go to sleep, which recently is only 3 hours a night. And then, of course, the progression of the hours when the sun comes up and so on and so forth, and the day goes on, and you go through your regular routine of whatever it happens to be. So by all means, Brian, do elucidate what's currently on your table of agenda.
Yeah, sure. Well, I agree with something you were saying earlier, that in the future all these UFOs or flying saucers will become visible. My view since around 2009 is there's flying saucers buzzing around day and night, like everywhere around the world, and they have a cloaking device. We don't see them. There's an everyday thing, and that people are getting abducted, commonly pulled out of their houses, abducted for a few hours, and put back. And this is part of a long-term kind of genetic upgrade. Like the Federation of Planets, at least my understanding from what I've researched, and also people like Jeff and Crystal have like first-hand experiences that they'd actually approached the Eisenhower government in the 50s and perhaps even the German government in the 1930s and 40s. And Eisenhower and others basically rejected them, said, well, no, we don't want to give up our nuclear weapons and become more, they're proposing, you should become more spiritual. We have all these gifts for humanity. They were basically rejected. So what the Federation of Planets decided to do is, we're going to do it our way. So the abduction program is a program to slowly and intuitively change humanity. They want to upgrade us genetically, physically, spiritually, so that the end result is we'll enter into the Federation of Planets. And one of the hallmarks is telepathy. All these aliens communicate with others with telepathy. And so the end result is humanity 2.0, this more evolved humanity. We'll have telepathy perhaps be like a hybrid, a physically altered, improved humanity, and that the world will be more spiritual. In the very center of our lives, they feel, should be more spiritual. So in many of the abductees, like Jeff, find that the Greys themselves are quite spiritually oriented beings, and he actually said they're kind of like Buddhists, and he kind of describes how this kind of threatens Christians. Like on our Vancouver UFO meetup, we've had some Christian guests. We had several, and they like to think that the whole abduction thing is demonic. What you need to do is pray to Jesus Christ to save you, and if you're getting abducted, pray to Jesus to prevent this, and it's all demonic. So they're actually threatened by this new world, this federation, whereas Buddhists are not. Like the Vajrayana is fine as well. We're not threatened by this because I think in Buddhist cosmology can accept other beings in the universe, and this changed reality seems to be in harmony with Buddhist thought. So I think within the media, there's a bad rap for Greys. I think the reptilians have been, some of them are quite bad, but there tends to be this bad rap for Greys. This might be like fake news. I think the Greys, at least the Greys that Jeff's and others are associated with, do have a good intention for the world. But I think this is the single biggest issue facing mankind that since World War II, the Federation planets have decided that, well, human beings have the atomic bomb. They're more evolved. They have to be brought into or Federation. There has to be some proper planetary management. These human beings they're kind of disappointing us. They're a bit violent. They're a bit out of control. They need to be properly managed. So I think they've made the decision that they're the humanity's agents of change. Just how Jeff Silver's been taught by he works one particular grade he calls the elder, like a grandmotherly female figure he's met like over 20 times. So they're basically saying the Federation has made this decision to incorporate Earth into it. And it's a very slow and intuitive process. They've probably been at it for over a century. So I think the point is we don't really have any choice in the matter. This is going to be done. This decision has been made, and the end result should be good. It could be difficult. Could be cataclysms getting there. Go ahead. Want to say something?
Well, I was just going to interject that first and foremost, the prime directive on any planetary interaction, of course, is not to interfere with that which the natural planetoids are creating or going on about their business. Unless, of course, in some way their business has become a threat to their immediate galaxy, which would, of course, have repercussions on their immediate universe, and it would be kind of like a domino effect. So from what I understand, all of the nuclear warheads on both sides, or all sides around the world, have basically been disintegrated, okay? So, yes, if we were to push the button right now, basically we would have nothing but a bunch of duds land wherever they happen to land. So there would be no radioactive wave, there would be no radioactive exposure, and the Earth would continue on the way it is. Now, whether this is factual or not, who's to say? I will go as far as to say that I have been on one of the motherships of the Galactic Federation, and I have I have had conversations with the starship captains, and they have made me very much aware that, yes, they are here to watch over us and to prevent, if necessary, or to even go as far as to intervene if our war decrees were to rise to the level that we would actually decide that we're going to disintegrate each other. That will not be allowed to happen. Okay, their technology is far surpassing ours, and it will not be allowed to happen. So you could say that's kind of a divine intervention that's coming down through our galactic star brothers and sisters. Because
divine intervention, I think of it that way.
Yeah, the will of and I mean, as far as demons, that's very old school Catholicism, and it really has. Mankind has this penchant that any time at all that they don't understand or they cannot understand something, it's automatically labeled as evil, and the very way that we should react to it is to kill it, kill it, kill it. Well, unfortunately, this is a very base carnal knowledge, and it's a very base carnal reaction. And those of us, of course, who like myself, come in from the 16th dimension, all right, we don't tolerate the likes of such. And personally, all right, on a celestial level, I am what is called a celestial healer. I am one who comes into universes, all right, and heals the entirety of a universe. Now, you say, I'm sure the question must be arising in your mind, well, why would a celestial healer decide to compose themselves into a physical being here on Earth when this is only
why would a celestial healer compose himself as a physical being here on Earth? I was just wondering that.
Okay, all right. A little bit of sarcasm in laughter is always enjoyed by all of us. But anyway, the point being is this, all right? I have come here to help mankind ascend on their own terms, in their own fashion, in their own time. So therefore, by my mere presence alone, the energetic space in which I create, which covers miles, is others of like mind, who do join me in turn on the ascension process or in the ascension space, okay? And, it's very simple, actually, because, if I get together with a couple of other like-minded people, I can change the entire planet at will, okay? But again, you see, I am directed to the prime directive, all right? The prime directive is not to overall interfere, all right? So, yes, if there are, in fact, these abductions occurring, I would stipulate that it has to be under the condition and agreement of that given individual's free will before anything.
It seems it is. They describe this how they do